Hello and welcome to another episode of Herbal History. In this episode we'll cover the history of medical use of hops. In this episode we'll cover the distribution, history, botany, and pharmacology of the species. You'll start off with the distribution and history of the species. It's likely that the species originated in China because all species of Humulus, the genus of which hops belongs to, are found in China. It is likely from there different populations of Humulus branched out and spread throughout different parts of the world, such as Japan and America as it spread eastward, as well as a westward migration to Europe. The common hop plant, however, is grown throughout the world in temperate climates. Based on current DNA evidence, the European hops diversified from the North American and Asian species 1 million years ago. The Asian and North American species likely diversified a little bit later, due to the fact that they're still genetically close. Now on to the medical history of this plant. The researcher Dr. Baer in 1999 showed that there are only a few findings of prehistoric hops in Europe, but the number increased during the early Middle Ages due to the increased utilization in the brewing process. The oldest sources in brewing beer using hops were described by Dr. Wilson in 1975, since the earliest plants were collected in the wild during the middle of the 9th century AD. In Germany. This process extended from north to south during the early and high medieval periods, as well as other regions of Central Europe. The hop was used as an alternative to Myrica Gale, as you may remember from a previous video. This was likely due to the fact that one contributing factor to the switch was the fact that hops had a superior preserving property than Myrica Gale. Prior to its use in beer, hops were an all-purpose preserver used for preserving different products, including beer, later on. Prior to that, Pliny the Elder, who lived from 23 to 79 AD, described that hops were used as a vegetable by the Romans via the young shoots. The leaves and flower heads were used later on as a means of making brown dye, as well as an all-purpose flavoring agent for cereals, spices, sauces, and other alcoholic beverages. The fibrous stems were used as a substitute for hemp to make coarse forms of cloth, as well as paper. Hops were also used in the perfume industry as well for their spicy and floral notes. In ancient times, they were also used as a means for the creation of a mild sedative to treat excitability and restlessness, as well as treating tension headaches. It was also used to improve appetite and digestion. It was likewise also used to relieve toothache, earache, and other mild pains. The Native American tribes used hops as a sedative and a painkiller, much in the same way that Pliny used it. Traditional Chinese medicine also used hops for the same purpose, which brings us to the botany of this plant. The common hop is a perennial plant which regrows each spring from rhizomes that exist underground. These stems are slender and often climb, growing up to 69 meters in length, with different plant-based hooks that allow it to cling to different surfaces. It can even climb on other plants, which it often does. The stems of this plant twist around their support mechanisms, either plants or rock, in a clockwise fashion. It also typically grows extensively on high humus, which is another word for organic matter, soils. You probably see a picture of the hop plant on the video, so you will have a decent idea of what they look like. These plants are mostly dioecious, having male and female flowers on separate plants. Although the American populations of hop have some populations that have monoecious strains, which have both male and female flowers on the same plant. The fruit of the female plant are what is collected to produce the hoppy flavor we find in beer, as well as a great deal of the medical property used in ancient time. But the males are often used as well for breeding purposes. Now on to current uses of hop. in terms of medical use. In 1987, the German Commission E approved the use of hops for the treatment of mood disturbances such as restlessness, anxiety, and insomnia, although this was later disproved by various researchers who studied this chemical when injected into rats and found no difference between placebo and the treatment itself. There's also studied possibility that hops can cause hormonal disruptions in female people. Various studies done in Germany found that there's estrogenic effects on females due to the chemical compounds found in the common hops. These chemicals are called 6-PN, ioxophomosol, XH, and 8-PN. Now on to the antibacterial and antimicrobial activity of this species. Since this plant is used to preserve beer, among other things, it obviously has antimicrobial properties, at least when it comes to food spoilage. But some of the better compounds found in the extracts also had negative effects on infectious bacteria found in people, such as Micrococcus, Staphylococcus, Mycobacterium, and Streptomycetes. There's also some antifungal activity against Candida, Trisphyston, Fusarium, and Mucor species. There has also been found that some people are allergic to hops, which manifests itself in dermatitis. Well, that about covers everything. See you in the next episode.